Meditation, I was only there for a few minutes because I already do meditate, so I kind of already have the information. So for me, it's kind of like a repeat of what I already know. So he was talking about, like, the meditation teacher was talking about how when you start to meditate, you start to create space because you can identify your patterns, your wounding. You're able to kind of figure out, like, why there are certain things in your childhood that, like, certain patterns that have repeated in relationships that have come up in your adult life. So imagine this. When you are interacting with people, your mind is kind of running on autopilot, right? So your autopilot functioning is kind of like, you know, it's just stuff that you don't really think about day to day. Like, you go through your life and you just exist. You know, things like going to work and, like, picking up, I mean, not right now, but, you know, like drinking a cup of coffee and not thinking about whether or not you want coffee or tea that day. You just automatically go to coffee because you want it. So it's like, that's like a really simple example of, like, patterning and autopilot programming. But so when you start to meditate, you're able to kind of really reflect on past patterns and things that do and don't serve you. So, for example, if you have a relationship or a friendship or a connection, some kind of work, business, relationship, whatever, something that's not really serving you, or if it's like a relationship that feels toxic or something that, like, you need to kind of examine a little more closely, if you were to meditate on that relationship, then you can kind of trace back and look at the patterns within that relationship that make it not so healthy, or not, like, so that it doesn't serve you as well. If you meditate on it, you can kind of think back to moments in your childhood where that same, like, the root of the problem is usually, almost always, pretty much always, when you as a child were let down by your parents, whether you didn't feel safe, whether you felt insecure, whether you felt inadequate in some kind of way, whether you felt unworthy of love. So what ends up happening is that plants a seed, and then that pattern repeats itself in your subsequent relationships. And when you start to meditate, you can become consciously aware of it. And when you're consciously aware of it, you can break those patterns. But it obviously takes practice and it takes time. And so you need to really be committed to it. Like, you can't just meditate once and be like, I'm done, I'm good to go. Like, I don't need to meditate again. It's a constant daily thing you have to do. And when you do it a lot, then you kind of get used to the idea of mindfulness, and it helps you kind of snap out of like negative thought cycles a little faster. When you practice mindfulness, essentially what you're practicing is you know, like, what you're grateful for and what you are consciously, you know, stop touching your face, Olivia. So things that you're, like, consciously grateful for. So, for example, in this quarantine, it can be hard to feel grateful for things because everything around you is so chaotic. But for me, like, I'm grateful for having a balcony where I can be outside and get some sunshine. I am grateful for my cat, because if I didn't have another creature in my home, I'd be probably going crazy right now. And I'm grateful for, I don't know, the nice weather, because the last couple of days have been really depressing. So having some sunshine has been really nice, right? So when you kind of put things into perspective that way, and you shift what you can control around you, then it helps to raise your vibration. And then that way you're not wallowing in a pity party, because it's super, super easy right now to be like, you know, everything. And that was me yesterday, for sure. Like, yesterday I was so overwhelmed by everything that was going on. I was dissociating. Like, the entire day was kind of shot for me. Like, I did, like, some school stuff, and I, like, cleaned up a little bit, but I was very much kind of, like, in that space where I was not okay mentally for a little while, because I was, like, reading the news and it was stressing me out, and I wasn't properly detaching my energy from what I was reading. And so today I was able to kind of, like, reset that part of my brain and try to, you know, like, put that behind me. Because at the end of the day, too, you know, when you're talking about mindfulness and gratefulness, it's about being present in the moment. And if you are, you know, busy worrying right now